Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Dentistry Unmasked. I'm David Rice here as always with
Yo, 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 Pam Maragliano. How are you doing today?
Yo Yo Yo. I'm doing even better after that and super stoked for our guest slash friend slash colleague slash amazing human.
Yeah, I will tell you, there's nothing more that I love than a freaking collab. And so for us to spend today with Andrew Johnston from A Tale of Two Hygienists, this is always going to be a great day. Andrew, welcome.
Well, thank you. I woke up on the right side of the bed today, knowing that this was happening. I was so excited because we had to hang out. Like, look, we're supposed to be professional podcasters here, but like, really, this is a chance for us to hang out, which is also great. But it's about a topic that we all really love too, and that I think that it's just fun. This is just gonna be a fun morning.
Oh, it's going to be a great morning. So, okay, let's kind of like jump right into it sort of. So,
Hmm.
I don't know. I mean, if you own a practice, you're a leader, right? If
Hmm.
you work for an organization, you kind of have to work around the leadership that's there. And there's sometimes it goes really well, and there's kind of a synergy there that it just kind of jives with everybody. And I think it comes down to like David's middle name, culture. Or it can be like a total effing disaster, right?
Yes.
Let's talk about some disasters.
What is the what do they call it? The kindness sandwich or whatever, the whatever you do kindness and then you like really rip people apart and then you do kindness again. Maybe let's go in that way because there's a lot of people that are doing things really, really right. And I don't, while the bulk of this is going to be about how people like just go up in flames, I think let's start off like I want to give Dr. Rice, David Rice. Sorry, I'm gonna call you David on this podcast if that's okay.
Yes.
I'm going to concede that finally after all of these years. But it's one of those things that I watched him like I had a front row seat to watching him coach somebody. And you're not lying. It is about culture. It is about if you are a leader, you have to set the tone. And a lot of that can be, I look at the goats, right? The Tom Brady's and the all of these like amazing people, they're walking the walk, right? Not only are they talking the talk, but they're walking the walk, but they're also great communicators and they're setting the stage like perfectly. The expectations for what we're asking people is very clear. And that all comes down to culture. David, you do it perfectly. I mean, I don't know where you learned that from, but it's like it's the best I've ever seen someone do.
I first of all, thank you. I really appreciate that. And I will tell you, I probably learned a lot of it the hard way. And a lot of it from just mirroring people who were mentors to me and great leaders, a lot of which, quite honestly, like totally outside of dentistry. I just observed them and thought, I'm like, wow, that was really cool. How they created a framework for everything. And it's like telling it's like every good story or every good movie, right? It's such a great movie because it flows and it is harmony and the characters are developed and you know where it's going to go before it gets there. And I think that's what leaders are able to do. They're able to take a group of people and bring them someplace that maybe they didn't think they could go, but they just created the framework for it until people, drink the Kool-Aid and ran with it. And you're no slouch yourself, Andrew, just FYI. You I think it's really amazing, Pam. You can echo this. I think some of the greatest leaders out there are the quietest people. And then when you speak, like I am compelled to listen because it's always going to be something pretty profound I should follow on. So back at you.
Well, I appreciate that. I think let's talk about like where, why things can be successful, and then where people make this mistake. And a lot of it is we talked about it a second ago, the expectations, right? Every place that I've ever worked, and had been a leader, there was clear expectations given to me, like, hey, this is your role and your responsibility. It's in your job description, right? A lot of dental offices don't have job descriptions. Private practices or whatever for the hygienist. I'm a dental hygienist, and so that's kind of my where I lean into. They say, "Hey, your job description is to clean teeth and take care of patients." Like it's very very vague, and I think that if you don't have itemized expectations, whether that's going to be your roles and responsibilities with the patient, roles and responsibilities when you don't have a patient in the chair, the KPIs that we all look at. So for the metrics to have a productive office and things like that. I think when we don't have that, we're just setting ourselves up to fail, right? I think, and then having a way for those employees that are under your charge to be able to look at those themselves and have some objective way of measuring, I think is just setting them up for failure, right? And I think it kind of on the flip side of that though is there's a lot of subjectivity in dentistry. And I think that there has to be a clarity of expectations. So, for both of you doctors, if I was working for you, one of our first things that we would do is we would say, hey, let's have a meeting. When do you diagnose a crown? What do you do? What are you looking for? Teach me. I think I know what you're looking for, but please just teach me. Have that moment so that I can talk to the patient with some authority as well. And the patient understands, when you guys are out of the room and they ask us questions. Getting on the same page, having all this stuff documented is the only way to go. And I think that's probably where the first pain point everyone starts to fail at. Wouldn't you agree?
I think so. I think another thing that's really interesting as a hygienist as well, I I didn't know what would happen in the doctor's operatory. And so
Hmm.
one thing I think that's really interesting is not only teaching you, how we would say it, what we look for, is I think that there's this thing that, oh, maybe you have a cancellation, maybe you should be calling patients, maybe you should restock your room, maybe you should start a little project that you'll, probably not finish in the hour that you have off. Alternatively, the hygienist can come and watch the doctor and
Hmm.
see what we're doing and see, why bonding we can't get up in the middle of something, or also the materials that we use, or something that still fascinates me is what a caries lesion looks like on an x-ray and what it looks like when you go inside a tooth. I think that would be such a cool thing to learn as a dental student, but also as a hygienist, because it's like you don't know what you're getting into until you're there. And I think that when I know hygienists that are like, oh, that doctor over treatment plans, or that doctor, doesn't treatment plan caries. Well, if you saw what we saw, maybe you would have better communication and your philosophies might align better. But I also think it's about having the proper, an aligned value system. I don't think
Yes.
you as a leader can work with, say, a hygienist or assistant, whatever, that doesn't have a similar objective as you as well. So we have to be very clear with job descriptions, but also overall expectations for patient care and the practice.
I
Let me ask you a
totally
question about
agree.
that value system though, because do you think that that's something that can be taught? So if we'll say all three of us have different value systems, could we eventually work together if we give enough time to gel and form, or do you think that people are entrenched in their opinions of overdiagnosing, underdiagnosing, and we'll never see it the other way around?
I think honestly, there's a small percentage of the population that is very self-aware. So if the three of us worked together and we were very self-aware and we walked in the door with different values and a different way of looking at the world, we could get there. But it would take
Mhm.
all three of us. I just find that to be a really small percentage of people. So for me, if you walk in the door and you see white and someone sees black, like just admit that you look at the world differently and this thing's not going to work out. It doesn't make either person a bad person. It's just a bad fit.
I agree. I think some of it's foundational. I think,
Hmm.
so I have really not that many criteria if I'm going to hire you. One is I want you to want to work here. If you deign to work here and this is just a job that you clock in and clock out, like this is just not the place for you. So there's that. But also, I want them to read my mission and my vision for the practice. And it has nothing to do with treatment planning or whatever. It's just your foundational values for caring for people and yourself and your team and the things around you. And again, if it's just a job and it's just sort of something, you don't feel like you're serving a greater purpose or a community or something like that, it's just never going to work in the first place. And I don't want my time, their time, or my patient's experience wasted.
So can I jump into the first place people F it up?
Yeah.
They have a 14-page mission and vision because no one's ever educated them. They've not taken the time and invested in getting the education on how to really share what they need to share with a team of people who are going to follow them. And it's just a bunch of mumbo jumbo. And quite honestly, it's a bunch of BS, right? It's a story that looks really great on paper, but it isn't actually anything to do with who they are and who they want to be.
Well, we all watch Jerry Maguire, right? And we know that there's that you can stay up all night and write a book about your mission statement. And I think some of us just are like, maybe that's what it is.
Yeah, I would echo that too, because like there have been enough places that I've been employed that I'm like, oh man, your guys' mission statement, first of all, it's like 4 lines long and that's it. It's easy to memorize. Everyone knows it. It's like, it's very simplistic, but it kind of encompasses everything that you need to have, right? And then there's other ones that are a little bit more lengthy. But what that tells me though is that this, just generally, this person shouldn't probably be in charge. It doesn't mean they couldn't own the practice. It couldn't mean, they just need to bring in the right people to help them coach them up to be the right leaders that they need to be. Now, kind of on the same thing of what I asked you about, like, can someone change their, ideology and philosophy and stuff and work together? That person might not ever change. Those people might always just, because they're also entrenched in what they believe and how they grew up and how they did it. And they want all these people, and they're going to be perpetually unhappy, unfortunately. But then you have other leaders who have, handed over the reins to, these amazing, doctors and dental directors and things like that to lead their practices, and they are just flourishing. So it kind of comes back to, yes, you have to have the right mission statement, but you have to hire the right people too. And I feel like that's where we really make that mistake. When I look for, a hygienist to bring on board, a lot of it is philosophical, right? So do you believe in this? Do you believe in this? Tell me about, your beliefs in perio percentages and things like this. I think when we develop mission statements, when we develop like the design of our businesses and things like that, as kind of rote as it might be, it's got to be evidence-based. Like, we have to be able to come back to the science 100% of the time. And I think that that's where other people fail too, is they don't create their mission statement based on evidence and science. And you can get hygienists to follow you into the dark. You can get assistants to follow you into the dark. If you can go back and point and say, hey, this is what the science says. And, our dentists are the leaders. And if they, if you want them, assuming that you're not the doctor owner and you're maybe an associate or whatever, if you want your associate to follow you into the dark as well, you have to have like a sound foundation that's not going to be changing every time the wind shifts.
Well, let me ask you guys this then, because obviously we're a little educational here at Dentistry Unmasked. What should a mission statement look like? Like, if somebody is here listening to this and they're like, okay, so my mission statement, I know it's too long. It's not science-based. What should it look like? Like, how long should it be? And how do we, because no one's trying to like spend days on PubMed to write a mission statement either. So we need to kind of, let's like detail out for people what that should look like.
How would you like it, Andrew, as someone walking in the door, something that you read and thought like, wow, this really hits home with me?
Yeah. Well, it's going to be what my values are, right? So it's going to be something about the patients, about outcomes, about high quality, blah, 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 right? High quality dentistry, the patient experience, but it's also about the provider. I think there was one place that I worked at that talked about, and I might get their motto wrong, but it's like they want to be the employer of choice and the provider of choice. To me, that encompasses everything, right? If you're going to be that person of choice, whether it's going to be for the patients, getting the best care possible, or whether it's going to be a place that you want to work, it's the best place possible to work. It encompasses everything, and it's short and sweet. Like, I like those types of statements that are just on the nose and open to enough interpretation that we can kind of fit everything else under the umbrella.
I love that. And I think that becomes an invitation to everybody on the team to say, hey, what's that really mean? And now, for what you were sharing before, now we can plug in, hey, on the patient side, it means we agree, dot, 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 dot. That's how we fulfill that promise. And on the team side, same thing. This is how we fulfill the promise we make to each other. And it's sort of like social media today, right? People watch a 15-second reel, and if they watch enough of those and they feel like, wow, this Andrew Johnston guy's really darn good, let me go learn a deeper level and a deeper level and a deeper level. And I think that's, where we are today. People aren't going to read 14 pages of shenanigans. They need to actually want to follow Dr. Pam. And then once they know like she's the leader and someone we want to follow, now teach me all the things of how to do that. So Pam, like, what are some of the things that you did that like built your team to want to follow you?
So, well, I know this is going to sound a little crazy given our guest today, but I think my whole like practice revolution that took place about 5 started with a hygienist who wanted to work for me because she saw me on A Tale of Two Hygienists. And she didn't know that I was in Massachusetts. She thought I was like somewhere else. And then when she realized I was in Mass and a drive away, when she knew I was looking for a hygienist, she wanted to meet me and be considered, which is super cool. And I feel very fortunate that my place in the dental industry has aligned me nicely to recruit the best hygienists. But when it comes down to it, you mentioned keeping things short. I have 3 words that my practice is about, and it's excellence, evolution, and love. And you can take those words and make them mean whatever you want. I do have a mission statement that's kind of, 3 sentences or something like that. And then I have a vision, which is like a bulleted list, but it all fits on like a piece of paper. It's not anything crazy. But I want people to read that, and I want to hear how they want to care for patients. And if they're reading my vision and my mission and, that kind of thing, and they're just sort of staring at a piece of paper, like counting to 30, hoping that I'm done staring at them, they're not for me. But if they're looking at it and there's like a little smile, or they're nodding, or they're like, or they stop in the middle of it and was like, no, 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 this is awesome, or this is something that really resonates with me, that's somebody who we can work with. There really hasn't been somebody that we've brought in that read this and was excited about it that didn't work out in the practice. However, before we had that, it's a little bit of a crapshoot. And so we definitely had a revolving door of people initially, until I was like, we need to create clear expectations and, and really get people to understand what our quote unquote brand is about, because everybody has to fall in line and we all have to have some sort of consistency. When you have 4 hygienists, yeah, personalities are different, but the quality of care should be there. And patients should leave like, oh, I like this one because she's got kids, or this one is vegan, or whatever. That, so you might connect on a level that's outside the level of care, but you should be able to leave with a consistent level of care. Same thing with our doctors. Not that we have to be completely calibrated with everything we do, but it still has to fall in line of acceptability. And so I think for me, it really started with, what are we about? Why are we about this? How do we go about doing this? And how does this fit in?
But what you've illustrated though is like you've solved the problem very intentionally, but like kind of almost by accident. What we talk about all the time in dentistry, right, is the patient experience, the patient experience, the patient experience. When do we ever talk about the employee experience? When have we ever talked about that? Where is that written anywhere in anything that we've ever done? No one talks about it. And so you figured this out where it's like, hey, if the employees are having the experience I want our patients to have, then they're going to give that. I mean, obviously not exactly the same way, but like they're going to give that to the patients then. And also when you tell them, hey, this is how I want you to do what you do, they're going to be open to it because they know that you care. They know that you have their best interest at heart. They know that you're not just some dictator just throwing around like hey, here's a rule just because I wanted to make it a rule. And then that rule changes in 10 days. And then in 15 days, it changes back. Like you've done a really good job of paying attention to the employees first and taking care of them. And I think by and large, whether you're an owner or whether you're anywhere along the leadership tree, that's where we fail a lot, is we don't think about the employee experience, and we need to fix that.
I think it's Roger Levin that talks about employees as a consumer, because they are a consumer at the end of it. Can I share something that's going to make me sound like a huge a-hole?
Please.
What about the employer experience? So here's the thing. I mean, the ladies in the office kind of laugh at me because I'm not apologetic about it. I can't spend my day with people I don't want to spend my day with. Yeah. And so my team, I would be happy to sit at my lunch table with any combination or one-on-one with anybody in my practice. And I feel like I need to have a good experience. I don't want to be like, oh gosh, there's that one again. Like, I don't want to run into her. I don't want to lock eyes with her in the hallway of my already small practice. No, I want to have people around me that I like to be around. If we're having a good time and there's a mutual respect there between my team and myself, my patients feel it. It makes them at ease. Like, it all just works. And so I know right now we're in a scenario where, the warm body is better than nothing. But for me, I'd rather nothing than the wrong person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm going to steal a page out of Dawn from our team's book. I think maybe her favorite word is agreements. So if we bring the right people on, if we share the values and we share the vision, then we need agreements from leadership to team to leadership, us to our patients. And those have to be as clearly defined as every other like standard operating procedure or clinical operating procedure. So people know, how does Dr. Pam get her experience, just like I need to get my experience as hygienist, assistant, admin, fill in the blank.
I think where employers almost shoot themselves in the foot, though, if I can be a little bit kind of combative against you, Dr. Pam, is they it's not clearly defined what they want, right? So sometimes they want to go in and they want to have a fun time. They want to be able to talk to anyone in the workplace, and they want to be kind of like the hygienist. That's they call it the chat and polish hygienist, right? That they don't actually want to do the work. They just want to chat and polish and make sure the patient just loves them. Oh my gosh. And then there's the ones that are like, hey, but also we need revenue. Like, this is a business. We need to do this. And I think where I see that where employers fail is they don't have that balance. Yeah. I've joked, your employees are going to hate me for saying this, and I love your employees, but I've joked to you multiple times that you care too much about your employees. Like, you take too good of care of them. And I'm getting kind of concerned sometimes that you're taken advantage of by employees. Luckily, you have the best ones that would never do that. But in other scenarios, I've seen that where people are they're so worried about image and about being nice that they don't hire the right people. And then their business suffers and they can't get the revenue up where it needs to be. So I would let that be a cautionary tale to like whoever's listening out there. It's like, okay, how do I find that balance? Well, yeah, I keep searching. Always be searching for people.
Always be searching for people.
That's a really great point. I think there needs to be an understanding that, Pam, you're very successful because you're kind of a natural born leader. Communication comes easy to you. And this doesn't make a leader in another practice who isn't that natural person a bad person. It's just, I think we all have to recognize what our strengths are. And to your point, Andrew, if your inherent strengths aren't leading, then don't try to emulate what somebody who a natural leader does. You have to get very automated and systematic with your approach, or you're right, people will walk on you, and you'll wake up 5-10 years later and feel like, wow, everybody is smiling but me. I think there was a book about that somewhere. I'm not sure.
There's an Amazon bestseller out there, so look it up.
Which is a total joke, right?
No,
Link
it's
in the show
not.
notes.
Link in show notes. Listen, so that's funny, and thank you for saying that. But what if you're not a natural born leader? I know I've had so many conversations with friends of mine that are practice owners and they're struggling for one thing or another. And I'm like, hey, what if you do this? And they're like, oh, I couldn't possibly do that. And I'm like, yes, you could. And I guess it doesn't come innately to everybody.
Thank you, everyone, for watching or listening to Dentistry Unmasked podcast, produced by Endeavor Business Media, a division of Endeavor B2B, and thanks to our guests and sponsors on this episode.
Please check out our social media at Dr. Pamela_Maragliano and at Dental Economics Official.
Or you can check me out at Ignite DDS or at Dr. David Rice.
And go to dentaleconomics.com to receive Dental Economics magazine. You can choose to receive DE in print or have it delivered directly to your email.
If you have topics or guests or anything you'd like to talk about on the show, send us an email at dentistryunmaskedpodcast@gmail.com, and we will do our very best to make it happen. Thanks again, and we'll see you next week.